Hello and welcome everybody to the Millennial Kickback. This is your host, Sir Kappa, and I'm joined today by Cedric.
Tell me the ants have taken all my food.
For today's episode, you know what? It's time to get really spooky today. But before we get into the spooky stuff, we wanted to talk about bad food service.
I'll talk about my good food service recently. My family was out for something and I couldn't really feed myself, so I was like, you know what? I will take the L and I'll order Uber Eats. So do you know what Five Guys is?
I've heard of Five Guys, yes.
It was good delivery on time, you know. I didn't know the portion sizes when ordering. So I got like a large fry and like a regular burger. I was thinking like McDonald's size fries, but no, these are like huge fries. And it's like, holy shit, I'm not going to finish this.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, if we're talking about fries, we're talking about like Angelo fries size.
Yeah. They don't serve like soft drinks in cups. They have bottles. They use the soft drink cups to hold fries.
What the fuck?
So not only do they put fries at the bottom of the bag, they also put fries inside the soft drink cup.
Oh my god, you absolute mad lad.
I didn't know this going in. I was like, oh, large means, you know, slightly bigger than a medium. I was thinking like the McDonald's
slightly
size.
better. It was slightly better than a medium. Oh, boy, were you wrong that day.
They don't do combos. They do everything separately. So it's like burgers $10, fries are $6 plus delivery. I was like $25.
Overall, that sounds like a lot of fucking money over some food.
But it's so good. No wonder people go broke eating Uber Eats.
Because not only are you paying for the food, you're paying for the fare plus gas money.
And you also gotta tip the guy or else you'll feel bad. Do you have any good food experiences?
My best food experience, my sister asked me if I wanted anything to eat one day, and I said, yeah, I'd like some Chinese. And usually when I get Chinese, I'd always get like Panda Express, because it's close by. But my sister went to another place that I didn't know about called Dragon Bowl. The first thing I noticed when she came in was the fact that it wasn't Panda Express. So I was like, okay, this could be interesting. The second detail that I noticed was actually the most interesting one, because the box, the plate for it, the sides of the plate, you know how like when you fill something up so much, it starts to bend upward? It starts to have like an arc?
Yeah.
Well, when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? Why can't it close? I barely moved the plate and the top just flipped open like violently. And it was fucking stacked. What you would get in Panda, you would get twice the amount, if not more, at Dragon Ball. You pay for what you actually get. The amount of food they give you justifies the amount of money you pay.
Given the choice between Panda or like just like a traditional like small Chinese place, I'll go with the small Chinese place because normally that's better.
Now we go with the bad. I rarely ever had one, but I had one major one where I was pissed. So I went to a Mexican restaurant called La Bahia, and 2013 to 15, we used to go there very frequently, like maybe every once a month. There was one day in particular when we went to go out. It was me, my parents, a couple of my siblings, and then my grandmother and somebody else. We're ordering our food. For a little while, I didn't get my food, and I was like, it's kind of taking a bit of time. But then my dad looked over at me and he was just like, just wait, your food will come, don't worry about it. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll wait. I'm patient enough, I'll wait. But then 5 minutes turns to 10, and I started noticing everybody has their food, right? Everybody's already starting to eat. I have yet to get my food yet. I've gotten a drink, but I have yet to get any food. That started to concern me, and my concern started to become even more apparent when 10 minutes turns to 20. And then 20 turns to 30, and 30 turns to 40. And everybody was about to finish their food. People were about to finish their food. Yeah, like 2 people have already finished, and everybody else is already about to finish their food. I have yet to get my food. And the worst part is by the time I got my food, only 2 people were left that didn't finish their food. I was fucking angry. Like, I actually wanted to burn the restaurant down. I actually wanted...
Local man commits arson.
Oh no! I was so mad because it's like, normally I would be fine to wait. Like, if it's fine, like they're taking some time. Here's the thing though, there wasn't a huge ass like amount of people there. I mean, it looked busy, but it didn't look that. Even on a busy day, you would think, okay, they have your food. Like by the time like the 10 minutes or 15 minutes show up. No, I had to wait around 45 minutes for my food. And I was angry by the time I got to it. I actually was about to just toss my food across the hall. I genuinely, I was like 14, 15 at the time. I was genuinely about to lash out. My dad had to calm me down, like, Jelly, look, it's all right. You got your food, right? I was so petty for the rest of the day. I genuinely did not eat anything else.
You were gonna
I honestly, like, I ate that food with anger. Like, I've never eaten anything and felt angry at the same time. Maybe once, but I've never like genuinely felt like pure blood gurgling rage when I've eaten. And that very day I did.
full of spite.
Dude, I ate that out of spite. Like, you know how it looks like when a little kid starts to eat just like angrily? Now imagine if they did that, but very calmly. That is more terrifying to me. And that is exactly what I did. And to this day, I've never wanted to go back there. Not once. I was very angry.
Where it's like they open up a Jumbo Juice across campus and it's like, oh, you don't see that many Jumbo Juices around. I'll go try. Multiple times have I gone there, and my disappointment was more than immeasurable, and my day was ruined.
I knew this was going somewhere.
It's like, compared to like the other one that's close to my house, this one is like, it will either end up one of two ways. You either get the drink you want and you'll like it, or you'll get bland trash. That and also that and the queue times where it's like it was me and two other people and we had to wait 25 minutes.
Jesus, for what?
For one smoothie each.
Wait, 25 minutes each?
No, like I had to wait 25 minutes. Like, and while there were like two other people in front of me. That and also there was an experience once where it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Do you want a substitute? Why? Oh, because we just ran out of bananas. They say as they're like...
I remember this. We talked about this once. Keep going.
They ran out of bananas, but literally right next to the Jumbo Juice is a grocery.
A grocery store, alright.
Yeah.
You keep cutting out a little bit, so I'm probably going to have to like fill in the gaps for it.
Okay. So yeah, it's like recently it's like it got better, but it's just like I just don't trust it as much. It's like it's a 50-50 chance. It's like, am I gonna get a good smoothie or am I gonna get a bland smoothie? And also there's waiting time too. It's like, am I gonna get quick service or am I gonna have to wait like 10 to 20 minutes?
From what I remember, like not a lot of people like fill up the place, even on a busy day. Like at best you'll get like 12 people. No, let's get on to your Denny's story.
So which one do you want me to talk about first? Do you want me to talk about the breakfast one or do you want me to talk about the dinner service?
Both, please.
Breakfast it is. So last year I was at campus for like a very long time, like from morning all the way to like 10 at night sometimes, depending on the class. And it's like I was practically there for the whole day, so it's like I had to go to Denny's. It was cheap, and it's like, you know, better than some of the other stuff around here, to be honest. So the breakfast story was they have like a special platter where it's like eggs, bacon, sausage, toast. No, what is it? No, it's pancakes. Pancakes on toast. And then you get a juice and a coffee for free. And then on the same menu is like this super platter where it's like, oh, I wonder what that one is. Literally nothing changed except they gave me like cheese on my egg and I had to pay for my drink separately instead of it being bundled together with the combo. And I was mad. From the way it looked, it's like it looks so much different than the other one. I'm paying more for what I practically get every time. This is a ripoff.
What was way different from your order compared to that like one specialty menu?
Compared to the one I got, the usual one I get, they gave me like one extra egg and they put cheese on my egg, but the egg was barely noticeable and the cheese wasn't even melted. But I will go to Denny's again. I like their breakfast is good, but everything else is like trash. And speaking of like everything else, let's go to the dinner thing. So I wanted to expand my horizons. So I was staying late one night. I think this was like my midterms, like right before spring break. Everyone was busy. My mom couldn't get me food, so I went to Denny's. It's like I either have the choice of getting breakfast for dinner, or I could just get a regular dinner like a normal functioning human being. I would take the regular dinner. I ordered chicken tendies because I am a tendies boy. Give me tendies.
I said that in one of my videos too, but continue.
So I got like chicken tenders, and I was expecting like decent quality chicken tenders. Never more in my life have I been more disappointed in getting chicken tenders than when I was eating at Denny's.
If you're disappointed with Denny's, imagine going to Norm's and getting chicken tenders.
Oh no, I don't want to go to Norm's. Between Norm's and Denny's, I would rather go to Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr. has like some great ass chicken tenders, dude.
Back to the Denny's thing where it's like I got my tenders and I bit into one and it was rubbery as hell. It had like a tendon or whatever inside. I had to be careful with the tenders now. I was on edge. You know, I took it like a man. I ate as much as I could. I left a good tip because I'm courteous. But from that day forward, I swore off eating dinner at Denny's. I will eat breakfast food, but I will not eat dinner food at Denny's.
You're practically Lemon from Adventure Time. Unacceptable!
I was thinking more was review bra.
Do you have any scary stories? Like little funny moments that made you like jump?
My dogs are known to be like, they're dumb shits, but they're excellent at rat killing. Like any rat that enters my backyard immediately has signed its death warrant.
What kind of dogs do you have, by the way?
I don't know. They're like mutts, I think, but they're just like, imagine like tiny dogs. Like I think they're like, let's just like say like 3 feet wide or whatever. They're not very tall, but they're very like speedy. They will run fast as hell to chase down rats. Imagine those tiny like terrier dogs that hunt down rats on farms.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, they're tiny, but they run fast because they're meant for hunting down rats. But the story was, I'm used to them hunting down rats. However, they also have a tendency to hunt down like stray bunnies that just so happen to make my way into the yard, which is kind of sad because they're just minding their own business compared to rats. 2 Halloweens ago, this is 2 years ago on Halloween. I remember it being 2 years ago because that was when I was playing Mario Odyssey when it came out. But what happened was I was going to bed after Halloween, and I hear a squeaking noise, like kind of like a. It's like kind of like imagine like a squeaky toy, basically, but it's just kind of like dying.
You just step on it and it just like wheezes away.
Kind of like it was like wheezing, and I thought it was a bat because my area is known for like raccoons and bats and whatever. And I was like, oh, it's probably just a bat on Halloween night, very thematic. I go to bed thinking nothing of it. I wake up the next morning. There is a bunny corpse in my yard, and it turns out a bunny made its way into the backyard in the middle of the night, and my dogs were mauling it.
Your dogs fucking sacrificed that to their Lord and Savior, Bone.
They sacrificed to their Lord and Savior, Cum Lord.
What if the dogs actually praised Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg. Yeah, it's like a little pentagram and out and out like a circle. It's like weed and Snoop Dogg.
No, dude, their fucking savior is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
The things I do for love.
I know we're talking about like a bunny just got mauled to death, but we're trying to make light of it despite that.
You gotta find comedy in some things.
One time in Halloween, I was like 12 years old. We showed up at somebody's house and we went trick-or-treating, and there's this guy who dressed up like Captain Jack Sparrow, but with like a really twisted and very fucked up like expression, and it looked creepy. So I grabbed the candy. I was like, "Oh my god, you almost scared me." And apparently the guy took offense to that because as soon as I said almost, he slowly inched towards me, and I was like, "All right, that's okay." And he got closer. He's like, okay, I get it. Okay, you can stop now. And then he stepped out from his front yard, and I was like, all right, please stop. And then I started backing up a little more. He started trying to haul ass. He was about to haul ass, and I started running. I was like, leave me the fuck alone. My dad was laughing in the background, and I was being chased down. Like, I wasn't even being chased down very far, but I was scared for dear life. I ran all the way back to my fucking house. I mean, I got over it, but it was just like, at the time, I was like, fuck me, you're trying too hard. So it was in the middle of the night. We were about to go to sleep, and I was like, probably like very young, probably like 10, maybe 12, maybe 11. And back to where I used to live, usually we would usually like get sometimes a thump here and there, but we just left it alone because it was very few and far between, so we just kind of let it go. But then one night, what?
Was it rats or?
At the time, we didn't have rats. All of a sudden, just like in the middle of the night, I would just hear random noises in the middle of the night. And I would get scared. I would tell my mom, like, hey, do you guys hear that? And they're like, no. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I hear like little thuds and stuff. It's just like, and then they would go into my room. They didn't hear it. And they were like, well, whatever it is, just go back to sleep. Nothing is happening. All right. I was like, all right, I'll go to sleep anyway. So I slept it off. The very next day, nothing happened, and I really thought that it was probably me. It was like 2-3 in the morning, probably 4, and it was late. So I was probably like, I'm probably just hearing things. But then the next week, for an entire week, I started hearing it, and it progressively got worse. And I started to get very scared because by that time I was starting to get very paranoid. Though I wasn't necessarily scared of the dark, I was scared of being alone in the dark. So I had to sleep alone one night, and that's when I really started to hear it, and I started to get very terrified to the point where I'd want to sleep in my parents' room. And the entire night I would hear like on my walls or on the roof. I was terrified. I'd sit there and think, whatever it is whatever that is that's in the house, whatever, I don't care what it is, please leave me alone. I used to get so terrified that one time, because I heard like a loud, and I got so scared, I jumped from bed and went to my mom's room. And we found out later that month that there were stray cats in the area.
So it was cats then?
Yeah, it was cats, but it was so bad because we had I think there was 7 stray cats in the area, and I was so terrified for a whole month. And at one point, I thought I was being haunted by one, because I'd always see this one cat that was it was white and it was spotted black in its left eye and a little bit on its body. But fuck me, was I terrified for the whole time.
You know what? Whereas compared to cats to a killer con, I would take a cat any day.
But then again, that was nothing when compared to you heard of creepypasta, right?
Oh god, please no.
Yeah, I was terrified. I was paranoid for a whole 2 years because of creepypasta, and specifically for the Tails doll. The Tails doll and Squidward's Suey were the worst ones for me.
Oh, I think they referenced that in a recent special.
Oh yeah, I heard it was the damnedest thing. They referenced the Squidward Suey in SpongeBob.
Squidward Suey.
Yeah, they referenced it in SpongeBob, and I was like, no fucking way is this real. I had to look it up. I saw this on Instagram and I thought it was fake. I looked it up, it was real, and I was fucking laughing. Jesus Christ, you brought back memories from 2014 that nobody wanted to see.
Apparently, according to one of the animators, it's he was lucky. He was they know about it, and it's they want to add it in. It ended up getting censored in Europe.
Squidward Suey is hands down one of the worst things that's SpongeBob affiliated. And for them to reference that made me feel uneasy.
Yeah, it was so surreal.
It was not fun back in 2013-14. Knowing early days of when creepypasta was a major thing in society. During the time when Disney was starting to pick up its different shows, when Nickelodeon was starting to pick up on very different cultural icons. It was so creepy, and it was so scarring.
Speaking of creepypastas, I'm not a fan of them, but there was a story a couple years back about those 2 girls who what was it? They tried to kill their friend over Slenderman.
Yeah, it was an actual news story where these 2 girls were sent to trial because of it. But it was really crazy because it all stemmed from they all knew about it, but then they brought this one random girl out there. And they said that they went into the forest late at night and they just killed her.
Oh no, they tried to, but she survived.
Oh yeah. Apparently she had multiple stab wounds, but they didn't hit any major arteries or anything like that.
There was this whole stigma that's the kids and the creepypastas, they're gonna corrupt your children or whatever. And so it was a big thing for a while. I think there's a documentary on it now.
I know it's recorded in his in the juvenile records about this situation, and it's made the news before, and they've made articles about such things.
I remember because I watched the Law and Order type shows. They tend to reference real life things. There was an episode that blatantly referenced it in a way.
Oh no, it's just that this is why I was very terrified of creepypastas, because you didn't know what was real and what wasn't, because at the time, even though we knew it was probably fake, it's the way they told it and the way that the stories were created almost felt like real life legends.
Big spook levels.
It's the whole thing with Chucky. You know how he was created?
I forgot. He was a doll, right? Or something.
Yeah, it's a real life doll that they had in a museum. It was stuck in an attic one day, and then all of a sudden it started a company. This one kid, and at some point it started to haunt and started to kill things, and or it started just to haunt the kid, and it would start becoming very erratic and all this other crazy shit. Eventually, they managed to find it and put it into a museum. There's a legend that goes around that says if you have to ask this doll for a picture. If it doesn't move, then you are allowed to take a picture. If it moves slightly and you still take a picture, it will haunt you for the rest of your life.
There's what is it? So like the Annabelle and the Conjuring movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's like a legit museum, like based on the events. Like, or no, the movies are based on like these exorcist people who actually did go and like exorcise these houses. So there's like a museum where they keep like all their spooky stuff or whatever. And it's like it has like the actual doll, the actual Annabelle doll, and it's like cursed items that they had to exorcise. They did a lot of exorcism, so it was kind of like their job basically to get rid of cursed stuff.
So it was kind of like a hall of like formerly possessed objects that once contained poltergeists.
Pretty much, yes. It was like things that goes upon a museum.
Imagine working in said museum and having to like work with these for like as a career.
Oh no, I would say no to that. I am not good with the scary.
I would fucking reject that offer. I wouldn't even work in the museum. I would not work in that museum at all, knowing that there was formerly possessed objects in the fucking museum.
I have a story. It's not really scary, but it's like sad. This was like junior year, and like in the middle of the night, or I woke up one morning, and I got like 2 voicemails in the middle of the night, and it was like a Domino's delivery driver. He had like a very thick Indian accent. He's like, "Hello, it is me, your Domino's delivery driver. I'm here with your," and it's like, it was funny at first, but then I realized, oh shit! So he had the wrong number, and he was already waiting in front of the house. And he called at like midnight. It's like,
that's a very odd time for someone to just call you and leave a message.
well, if it's a delivery driver, it makes sense.
If it's a wrong number, you would think like, oh shit. But then again, we move.
At first, it was funny, and then I thought, wait a minute. If he got the wrong number, it's like he was waiting there for his delivery. For the person who pick up the delivery at like 12 at night, and it's like, oh shit, I feel bad now.
The whole stigma is that you were afraid that they were waiting there all night for you.
Yeah, that they were waiting there all night at their like the right house but the wrong number, and they couldn't know whether or not their customer was gonna like pick up their food.
In terms of like really shocking stories, I have like maybe 1 or 2. But for now, I'll just talk about one that happened like during middle school. Like it was still early, like 7th grade maybe, and I was very impressionable. I was still trying to fit in. I was trying to find acceptance. I was still not comfortable with my own skin just yet. Moving on from that, I had a very good friend, who I'm still friends with to this very day. So I had my best friend, and then I had an acquaintance of mine, and I would hang out with 2 of them individually. Both of them were pretty cool guys in their own way, but here was the difference that I noticed about both of them. My best friend was like the out of the norm kind of guy. He was the person that was very like out there, but in his own way. And he wasn't part of that social norm, whereas the acquaintance of mine, he was part of that like hierarchy of like people of like that stereotypical like you're in the know to know kind of hierarchy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, like if you want to fit in, you'd be with these people. But this guy was pretty cool, and he was a really nice guy. He was a very like good person for the most part, and he was very funny. And I hung out with those 2. One day we all met up together, and we started talking, and things were good. Things were fine. We started socializing. We started talking very closely. At some point, for some odd reason, there would be times where he would say stuff that he would not criticize, but he kind of throw little digs at things he doesn't like. I think he didn't like anime. Not a lot of people do, but it's like he's kind of throwing little digs at people who watch him. And he started throwing digs at certain things about us, but I didn't really think of too much of it. And at some point, I don't know why, but he just started becoming very distant towards my best friend. He didn't really give a reason as to why he doesn't hang out with them. And I'm not going to question it, but at some point he just said like, don't you think he can get a little annoying? And that should have been a sign for me that something was wrong. but I didn't ask. I was still very socially awkward, so I was like, nah, I don't think he's annoying. I mean, like, yeah, we have our differences, but it's like we do what we do and we get along. And it's like, if you guys don't get along, I'm not going to blame you. Like, everybody has their own opinions of other people. If you don't like them, you don't like them. So I let this go. I didn't think too much about it. He progressively got more distant. I stopped hanging out with that guy as much. I mean, I talked to him because we had a class together, but other than that, I hung out with my best friend a little more. That was fine for a while. But then one day he just, like, we didn't talk at all. He just kind of avoided me. I became a little cautious of it. It became even more crazy. Like, my doubts started to become even more, like, apparent or even more reasonable the very next week. I think it was passing period. Things were fine, but then all of a sudden we got an announcement. People needed to stay in their classrooms, and we were all like wondering what the hell went down. It wasn't until later on that day or the next day a student got expelled, and the same student that got expelled was the person that I hung out with, the acquaintance of mine.
Oh.
Now here's where it gets worse though. The reason for his expulsion: attempted murder.
Oh.
And his target was my best friend.
Oh no.
He showed up to school like the week before or the day before, and he had a lead pencil. What he did is that there's a little mechanism that goes to where it holds the lead. I don't know what he did, but apparently police said, like, there was a police report that said that he modified the lead pencil or something like that, and it had a piece of a razor blade. He modified it so it would hold, so he could still stab, like, properly. He found my friend, and he, out of nowhere, tried to assault him and stab him. Thankfully, my best friend was left with, like, minor injuries and some bruises, but it was very terrifying because when they told the story, he was chased around campus, held at knife point. After everything had went down, he just kind of, like, shied away from everything. To this very day, like, it sticks with me. Like, I could have lost a friend then. Thankfully, he's great. He's in very good health now. He and I meet each other very often. We talk often. And since then, he's moved on. I never would have thought that something like that would ever happen in my life, knowing that I've met somebody who was assaulted in real life. I always thought that was like a thing in school, like films, like regarding those kinds of things, but it happened in real life, and that was a very, like, surreal moment for me. But it was even more crazy knowing that my best friend had to deal with that. Thankfully, he's in good health. He moved on. He's living his best life. He's doing his own thing, and you know what? I'm glad he's doing well.
Yeah, that is just, like, seriously, like, that is, like, the most disturbing thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've had some crazy shit happen over the past, but it's like, out of all the things that have happened, you would never, and out of all the things that I've ever said, like, publicly or, like, on this channel, this was one of those things that I think I would have never told people. Because it's like, it's one thing if you talk about, like, things about your own mental health or stuff like that, which I barely have yet to touch the surface of. But it's one thing to go from that and then to go to, like, hey, oh, by the way, I had a friend who was almost murdered one time. Yeah, that's a major jump. Jesus, that's one that it's hard to recover. Like, you can't recover the conversation after that.
Pretty much, yeah.
As much as I want to say more, I think, like, there's not really anything else that could pretty much top that in terms of, like, scary. But I will say, I will try. There is one last story I'll tell. I'll try to make a little bit of light out of this. I once thought, or I believe, I saw a UFO.
Oh no, Caesar, please don't tell me you have an anal probe.
No, I believe I saw one, and I was at a party one time, and I don't know if it was a real UFO, but I personally believe it might have been. Now, it was like 7 o'clock in the middle of the night, maybe 8 o'clock, and the sun was still up. It was setting. Now, we were hanging out. It was just me, my little brother, and then just a few other kids just sitting around, like, playing around. And we were just running. We were playing tag, and we were just walking around in the neighborhood. Later that day, like maybe like 30 minutes later, we thought we saw a plane, and we thought, oh, there's a plane there, and we all just stood there. But then when we were about to leave, one of the kids just basically pointed out, like, wait, why is it moving like that? We thought it was like a drone or something. No, it was not a drone. It was way bigger than a drone could have been, even at that distance. It started to move in like very unpredictable patterns. It started moving left. It started moving vertically, horizontally. It started moving like diagonally. And Usually you would think a drone would move that fast. No, it moved quicker. It moved almost too fluidly without moving its shape. Because when a drone moves, you would see it changes like direction and angle. This didn't change direction or angle at all. It just moved while keeping a flat line, like flat surface. It just moved like, you know how the ring around it just, it spins very flat, but it spins in a circle?
Yeah.
Now imagine that, but it stays flat whilst also moving in the directions that I just mentioned. We believe that that was a UFO because for 10 minutes straight, all it did was move in very improper like angles. It moved like very uncoordinated, and it just kept its shape the entire time. And we were sitting there thinking, oh my God, aliens could be real. We just sat there not knowing what to think about. Some people recorded it. I grabbed my uncle. We saw this. And from that day forward, it was like a really surreal moment. Like we thought, dude, aliens are fucking real. And from that day, it stuck with me. Like, Jesus Christ, like aliens are real. Or I believe aliens could be real because of that shit.
And then Caesar got probed. I'm sorry, Caesar, for your probing.
You fucking dickhead. No, I've never thought I'd see the day where I could like really say without a doubt, like, Jesus Christ, aliens could that's when I believe that, you know what, there's more life to this world than just Earth. Like you gotta be crazy not to think about that. Well, thank you, Cedric, for joining me on another episode of Millennial Kickback.
It was very spooky. I'm going to go drink some chocolate milk and go to bed.
If you liked what you see, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. And with that being said, thank you, Cedric, again for joining me on this episode of the Millennial Kickback. And I'll see you guys in the next one.